This is a Chameneon, a natural-born hunter that is best known for its ability to change color based on its environment, and for having a tongue that can extend to twice the length of their bodies. Now, let's compare this warm weather-loving lizard to Chameneon, the star of the brand new action game from Cubite Interactive. Instead of hugging trees and eating more than 50 crickets per day, this video game character surfs on neon lines in cyberspace to pick up power icons, save the missing files, and dodge the types of bugs that a real chameleon would normally feed on. You know what? That sounds like fun. But is this awkwardly named mascot character up for the job of saving the internet? Well, that's what I plan to find out in this review of Chameneon. When a nasty virus infects cyberspace and threatens to destroy everything, there's only one thing to do. That's right, install an antivirus program. But let's say that doesn't work. Then it's time to initiate Protocol Chameneon, unleashing a digital character to slip and slide through 80 challenging stages in order to defeat the virus and save the files before it's too late. This sets up a fun and extremely frustrating action game that never fully breaks free of its overly simplistic premise. As the titular Chameneon, you slide across neon lines looking for power icons and the secret floppy disks that are hidden in each stage. The goal is to collect enough of these floating power symbols to recharge the battery up to 100%. You do this by switching colors, allowing you to jump between the corresponding lines. For example, switching to a blue body will not only allow you to surf on the blue lines, but you'll also be able to glide right through the red obstacles without taking any damage. Now, the one thing that you need to know before you go in is that you have very little control over our heroic lizard. Between switching colors, you can jump and that's about it. You can make the chameleon go slightly faster and a little slower for times when that's important, but don't expect a whole lot of depth to the gameplay. The little guy never stops, which forces us to constantly make split-second decisions about which path to take and which color to switch to. Sometimes both paths are equally viable, while other times the red line will lead us to straight off of the screen. The levels themselves are about as bite-sized as you can get with a 2D platformer, with many of them lasting anywhere from 15 to maybe 30 seconds. But hold on a second, let me assure you that just because you can beat a level in 15 seconds, that does not mean that you will. With the various lines going in all directions and both enemies and obstacles becoming more aggressive as you slide through the 80 stages, you're going to end up playing many of these stages dozens, maybe even hundreds of times in order to get the perfect timing. In that sense, Chameneon reminds me of an on-rails version of Super Meat Boy, complete with a death counter at the top of the screen that's always taunting you. Look, this is a deceptively challenging game that is not for people who get frustrated easily. Personally speaking, I liked the challenge, and I felt a real sense of accomplishment after beating some of these more punishing stages. That said, this game won't be for everybody, and I suspect that a lot of people will bow out long before the enemies show up in the second batch of levels. Me, I found it relaxing and easy to pick up and play, while I'm sure others will want to throw the controller straight through the television. Yeah, this game is gonna make you angry, even with the upbeat and insanely catchy dance music blaring in the background. Unfortunately, Chameneon falls into a lot of the traps that are so common with this type of game. Part of what makes this game so frustrating is that when we're stuck on an especially tough level, there's no way to progress until you finally get the timing right. This just makes everything worse. It'd be a lot better if there were multiple levels open at once. That way, when things get too frustrating, you can move on to a completely different stage and then later come back to the one that was giving you problems. Just taking some time away from that frustrating level can be all the difference between winning and losing, and it's annoying that the game forces you to play the levels in one particular order. I was also disappointed by the presentation. The characters, the lines, and even the enemies all look good. But the backgrounds, well, they'll all blur together after a while. It doesn't help that there are only 4 locations, each with 20 levels to complete. And it's not like we're seeing drastically different backgrounds from one zone to another, because the big change is usually nothing more than just a different color. It would have been nice to see more variety in the backgrounds and locations, something that stands out in a memorable way. As it is, the best thing about this game's presentation is the catchy music. Look, the truth is that you can only expect so much from a budget title like Chameneon. Priced at under $5, this game does just enough for you to not feel ripped off. Sure, it would have been nice to have a few extra backgrounds and maybe a little bit more depth to the gameplay, but you get what you pay for. I mean, it probably won't make my list of favorite games of 2022, but if you're looking for a challenge and don't want to spend a whole lot of money, then you could really do a whole lot worse than Chameneon. Don't let the simple gameplay and the silly name fool you. Chameneon is a deceptively difficult game that even the most hardcore gamers will describe using words like punishing and brutal. While the levels all look the same and the designs are a bit on the repetitive side, the gameplay is solid and you get a lot of content for the budget price. You're not paying for innovative ideas, so don't expect a whole lot of fresh new takes in this game. What you get is a budget-priced game that is fun for a while, but hardly memorable. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite video game lizard? Also, you're gonna get bonus points if you don't say Gex. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back on Monday with a brand new episode of Die Hard Game Fans Best and Worst. While you wait for that, do me a favor and click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.